I give you a warm welcome to CONTRATTO. The winery has been founded by Giuseppe Contratto in 1867, more than 150 years ago. After 130 years, in 1993, the family decided to sell the winery to Carluccio Bocchino, who produced Grappa. Grappa Bocchino is one of the most important producers in the area, and he restored the area. In 2011 happens the last changement. Giorgio Rivetti from La Spinetta bought the winery in 2011. Giorgio is a producer and a winemaker. La Spinetta has been founded by Giorgio's parents, Lydia and Giuseppe, in 1977. I will show you which is the focus here. We produce Metodo Classico sparkling wine. That is the same system used to produce champagne. Champenoise method and Metodo Classico is the same thing. Re-fermentation happens in the bottle. We'll see in details the method, and now we enter in the cellar. Metodo Classico, the Champenoise champagne system, was born here in Canelli. The first producer moved to France for 4 years in order to learn how to put the bubbles in the wine. Then he came back and he started to produce champagne. We have in this cellar 13 degrees naturally, because the hill is over our heads. In the deepest point at the end of this tunnel, we will be 40 meters in the ground. We will have all the hills over our heads in order to keep this temperature always constant. Wintertime, summertime, day, night is always 13. This is crucial for the wine that stay here for many years. We mainly use Pinot Noir and Chardonnay grapes, but also Moscato. Moscato was the indigenous and local grapes that was used at the beginning and is still used for Assi Spumante. We harvest our grapes, we only use our own grape, we do not buy any grape, in mid-August, in order to have a bright acidity. Then we bring the grape here, we press the grape, we obtain a base wine, and we put the base wine in a stainless steel vat for 9 months. After 9 months, we are in June, we start bottling, and before bottling, we need to put the wine in condition to develop a second fermentation, and we'll do that adding la liqueur de tirage, yeast and sugar. These two components will start again a fermentation in the bottle. We close the bottle, as you can see, with a capsule, a crown cork. I will show you. And then we put the bottle in stack. That will be the position for the bottle, horizontal, for more than 4 years. Inside we have the yeast that stays in contact with the wine for 4 or more years. Why we need this? Because after a while that sediment will start to release flavors, aromas and interesting notes to the wine, giving the complexity to the wine. At the same time, also the bubble is dividing itself in a smaller and more elegant bubble. This is why we need to wait so long. Giorgio, that is the owner but also winemaker, decided to do long aging for our wines. So we are leaving our wines minimum 42-48 months. Even more, we have the Novecento released that year in Vinitaly and in September, that had just spent 7.5 and 8.5 years, so very long aging. After this aging, when we think the wine is ready, we get it manually from the stack, and we will do coup de poignet. Coup de poignet is that movement we'll do in order to put the sediment again in circulation, as you can see here. Then we put this bottle in pupitre. These wooden racks is so-called pupitre. We use them for riddling. Riddling will be the movement that will move the yeast till the cork. We are not going to start right now. We are going to leave the bottle for 10 days still in order to settle down the sediment. Then we are going to add this paint dot you can see on all bottles. This is a normal paint. We need that as a reference to know at which position we are. Starting from that dot, we are going to turn the bottle daily for 1/8 of turn. 1/8 is that movement, nothing more than that. This is done for today. In 18 days, we are going to finish the riddling and we are going to get a vertical position. We are going to do that. As you can see, the pupitre is built in a way that will get the vertical position for all the bottles. At the end of the riddling operation, we are going to have a clear wine and the yeast. It's all here. Operation. Now we are going to meet our Mauro, who will... Mauro is very busy in the period, but he is here to show how the riddling is done, the manual riddling, of course. As you can see, with his 40 years of experience, he is very, very fast with the bottles. 5 bottles per second is the speed of Mauro, and it means that he will turn 15,000 bottles in an hour. At this point, at the end of this now, is 120 bottles. We are in the cathedral. This is the oldest part of the cellar, built in 1867, more than 150 years ago. The place also gives the name to the UNESCO Heritage Site we became in 2014. We are one of the 4 underground cathedrals of the wine because of the architectural style used at the time. Here sleeps the special Cuvée 2009, still growing, a vintage and a harvest of 10 years ago, was still growing, still changing the flavors inside. The labels, the actual labels, comes from the original 20s advertising campaign. She's the lady used for as a publicity, as an affiche, a poster in 1925. She was drawn by Leonetto Cappiello, an Italian artist from Naples, but he spent all his life in France. And you can easily see the influence of Art Deco style, Liberty, we call it Liberty in Italy. That lady has been the poster and the affiche, the face for the company for many years. In 2011, Giorgio Rivetti, the owner, decided to use her as a label in order to put the bottle, the face in the bottle. So she's a label today. There we are, we have reached the table, the underground table we have in the cellar. That table has been installed in the 90s by the second owner of the winery, Carluccio Bocchino, who was a wine lover and a food lover. He also installed a fully professional equipped kitchen here at the level, and he invited the most important chef from any part of the world to cook for his guests around the table. This tradition was called Great Tables from World, because the chefs were actually coming from any part of the world. We had here in the kitchens Paul Bocuse, Alain Ducasse, Gualtiero Marchesi, our main chef of the period. Nobu, the Japanese restaurant in New York, Los Angeles, was also here. Marc Veyrat, really the most important chef of the period. We are talking about the second part of the 90s and the early 2000s. After that period, this tradition was ended by the same owner. And you use the table for a professional use, for tasting, sometimes dinner and lunch, but it's mainly a professional use. But that's the history about the table. Now all the wines we just released, Novecento, Blanc de Blanc, we are starting with the main production, that is millesimato. Millesimato in Italian means vintage. But all the wines are vintage, only that one got the name. We are tasting 2013 vintage, and this wine is a blend of Pinot Noir and Chardonnay grapes. Together, 20% of Chardonnay, and the rest, 80%, is Pinot Noir. So the 2 grapes are together, they're working together. Our wine is Pas d'Oseille, that is French, means no sugar added. So after disgorgement, there is no sugar added to this wine. All is very clean as a flavor, very dry. Special Cuvée 2010. This is what we are going to taste, and a special Cuvée is always a selection of every year. The older vine, the best exposure in the vineyards became that year, that wine. 2010 is a 90% Pinot Noir and 10% of Chardonnay. Only 10% of Chardonnay, but that Chardonnay is spending 7 months in a wooden tonneau in second passage. So it's the only spumante we produce with some wood passage, oak passage. That will give runness. Pas d'oseille, no sugar added at all. And for that wine we have again 7 years and a half on lees for the structure and the flavors. White from white. White grapes that gives a white wine. Chardonnay grapes 100%, and it's also Altalanga. Altalanga is the DOCG we have in Piedmont for sparkling wines from Pinot Noir and Chardonnay grapes, and here we have 2015 vintage. Extra brut, that means there is some residual sugar for 3 grams, so very small runness from the sugar. The liquor is still no dosage, no sugar added. And we are tasting 2011. That wine just spent 7 years and a half on his own lees. Pas d'oseille, no sugar added. The grape here are Pinot Noir single grape, only Pinot Noir. The color is given by the skin contact. 70% of Pinot Noir and 30% of Chardonnay. So again a blend, Pas d'oseille, but 2010. That wine has a richness in flavor that is incredible, combined with a very bright acidity, very interesting acidity. Spending 8 years and a half on lees means having very complex flavors. These are acid spumante produced with the Martinotti system. So it's a long charmat. It stays 3 years and a half in the vat in order to get all the flavors, and that's a good system in order to preserve all the aromatic side of Moscato. And then it's bottled. 2015 vintage. Moscato is the indigenous grapes we have in the area, and that was also the first grape that was used for the first Italian champagne. So very traditional for us.